Beside me here is my new Kia EV6, and I gotta tell you guys, I've been absolutely loving this car, more than I thought I would. But one thing I have not been loving is the water spots basically covering the entirety of the car. Now, traditionally, water spots on paint, those are quite easy to remove. A simple either polish or compounded polish will absolutely remove them. Sometimes, depending on the severity, you may have to wet sand them, then compound, then polish them. But today, we're focusing on water spotting on glass. My Kia EV6 over here is covered in them, and it's driving me absolutely nuts. So today, we're going to be testing a long list of products here to see what is the safest, most effective, and easiest way to remove water spots from your automotive glass. Welcome back to another out of spec detailing video here from Clear Detailing in Northern Colorado. I'm excited for this one, so let's jump into it. Now, first off, let's talk about how water spots happen and why they happen. Now, typically water spots are from hard water. Hard water means that you have a lot of mineral content within that water, and when it dries on your vehicle's windows or paint, it actually leaves behind mineral deposits. Now, the interesting thing about paint is it expands and contracts as it heats up and it cools down. A lot of the times with heavy water spots, especially on dark black vehicles, what can happen is the paint is expanded, water falls on there, and overnight it kind of encapsulates them. Now, there's a long list of videos that I need to make covering this topic on how to remove water spots from paint because it can be quite tricky. Sometimes it can be easy, sometimes it's a real pain in the butt. But today we're really focusing on glass. Now, in front of me here, like I said, we have a long list of products all the way from clay bars to glass cleaners, compounds and polishes, dedicated glass polishes here, Adam's Brilliant Glaze, and some dedicated water spot removers. Also, the other one we have here is steel wool. Now, I got to be honest, this is definitely a little bit of a scary one to use on glass because you're of course worried about scratching and damaging it, but I've heard a lot of the times this is the definitive way to use it. So we're going to put it to the test here and see if it actually works on my EV6. Now, the issue with water spots is they really get baked in. They're not simple enough to wipe away. Again, think of that heating, expanding, and contracting. That causes quite a bit of issue. Now, you wouldn't really expect this from a brand new vehicle like my EV6, but traditionally when cars sit outside on a dealership lot, unprotected, they have no wax, they have no sealants, no ceramic coatings, they're exposed, and water can be a real headache to get off. So I think what we're going to do here on my back windshield, I'm going to clean this off here. I'm either going to use some glass cleaner or just some simple waterless wash, and I'm going to tape this up. And what we're going to do is work in small sections here and just figure out what works the best. Now, all of these products are mostly safe for glass. Some, especially in this region here, are dedicated to remove water spotting from glass. Adam's Brilliant Glaze has been one of those for light water spots that I've been absolutely thrilled with. Goes on, really removes them, leaves behind a little bit of a film, a little bit of slickness. But in lieu of this, you may want to also ceramic coat your glass. If you want a video on that, I'll leave it in the link in the description below where I go through and show you guys how to ceramic coat glass. We're not going to do that in today's video. We're solely focused on glass cleaning. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to get this taped up and we're just going to start from the least aggressive, go to most aggressive, and see what works best. And we are all taped up in different sections here ready to go. So I've split this up in a grid style format. First off, yet again, look at the water spots in here. I know the camera is having a hard time focusing. Do apologize for that, but it's pretty evenly spread. Now, these are decently hard water spots. I've actually played with this a little bit just off camera another day ago. And yeah, didn't have much luck with it. So over here, we're starting off, we're just going to try glass cleaner just to see if it makes any sort of difference. I'm not really thinking it will. Again, every spot has quite a few very good water spots in it. Down here, we're going to test out a clay bar. Now, a clay bar's whole rationale is to remove surface contaminants, so this may be good. Glass isn't super porous, so everything kind of sits on top of it. Be curious to see how that works there. Up here, we're going to use just normal polish like we would if we were polishing paint, and a compound like if we were polishing paint as well. Those have quite a bit of aggressive particles in them that can help kind of massage all of these out. Be curious to see how those play in here. This is Seri glass from CarPro. It's again a dedicated glass polishing polish. Now this is a very aggressive polish, and there are certain applicators you can use. What we're going to do today with everything is just use microfiber towels. I'm going to do them by hand. We may get out a polisher later on to see, okay, maybe the compound's doing something, but we should be able to quickly polish it with a random orbital. Down here we have Chemical Guy's water spot remover. Been pretty impressed with this stuff in the past. It's more of an acid, and it actually eats away the minerals in there. Now with quite a few of these, especially the Chemical Guy's water spot remover, Gyeon water spot, and CarPro Spotless, these all need to be neutralized after. So they recommend you do this after you've washed the car. Oh shoot, I noticed I had water spots. You apply it on there, rinse it off. What we're probably going to do today is just use something like a glass cleaner to quickly neutralize it. Should be good to go. Down here we have Brilliant Glaze, and then up in this particular area, steel wool. Now this is going to be using quadruple zero. This is super fine steel wool. You don't want to use less than that from all of my research I've done. So let's get started here. I'm going to throw you guys on a tripod. I'm going to probably work all the sections in. I'll describe to you what I'm seeing, if I'm seeing any difference. And then towards the end, when we see this actually working, we'll come back in and really see how they did side by side. So first off here, we're going to start with Koch Chemie glass cleaner up here in this particular quadrant. We're just going to spray a little on here. Again, this is one of my favorite glass cleaners, and as I can see here, absolutely no change, no difference. Very etched in there. If they were just light water spots, those would immediately come off. I just wanted to kind of do this as just a sample. I knew it wasn't going to remove it, but nonetheless, it'll be good to go. Now down here, I'm going to use just my same glass cleaner, and I'm going to grab my Meguiar's clay bar here, and I'm just going to come in here and clay this down. Now it's going to be a little tricky with these sections, of course, to get right to the edge, but we'll definitely be able to tell if it's removing these or not. I'm just going to do one more pass up and down here. Now clay bars are interesting. They actually work on friction, not so much pressure. And I gotta say, I feel like it did a little bit of work. Definitely here in the center, you feel the glass is super smooth now, so that's a great benefit of that. But I wouldn't say it removed everything. Definitely can see over here on the edges. Let's kind of come in here and try and clay this a little bit more. Again, just using glass cleaner here as my lubricant. Normally you would use like a detail spray. That's not going to change how the clay bar actually works. Let's just see this little section. Yeah, I mean, it's definitely making a difference. It definitely looks better than just the glass cleaner up here, but I can still see water spots all over this. So I think next we'll move on here to polish. Now on the polishing segment here, we're going to use Sonak's Perfect Finish. This is a great kind of in-between polish. It has enough cut in it to kind of break down a few micro scratches and things on paint. We'll be curious to see how it works on here, but it's definitely not as aggressive as a full strength compound. Now again, we're just doing little test spots here. If you were going to do this, I'd probably do it on a machine polisher. Definitely if you're doing all the windows, it's going to help you out and not give you so much elbow grease to work with, but I'll be curious to see what this actually does here. So I just worked it in a little bit, again, not trying to get it perfect. And man, that looks pretty darn nice, folks. Ultra smooth in there. Probably what I'd recommend doing before you do any of this is clay everything anyways, and then come in and do a polish, but that actually looks extremely good. Now I'm going to take the same towel over here. Now this is an in-between compound. This isn't the most aggressive one that I have, but it's definitely reasonably aggressive. And this is made by Meguiar's. This is called D300 here. I'm going to apply a little bit to my microfiber. Maybe. There it comes. So this will be one step above the glass polish, or the polish that we just used there. It'll be slightly more aggressive, so maybe a little bit less work. Just gonna nicely work this in. I think this is a cool test because I think it'll give a lot of folks kind of an idea of how you can really, it depends on your water spots. If they're super baked, you may need to go more aggressive on this side. If they're a little bit somewhere in the lighter section, I mean, the polish took it off amazingly nice. And this looks pretty darn good as well. I would say it's almost, I don't know, not even sort of as clean. Really interesting spots coming on here. Actually, that's a little weird. Try and work this in a little bit more. Yeah, and they go right away. So it may have just been some residue right there, maybe from the actual tape in that section. Okay, reasonably good. I'm gonna grab a fresh towel here. That looks pretty good. I would say definitely got quite a few of the water spots off. Next, I want to play around with Seri glass. This is a polish and cleaner here. So on the directions, as you can tell, I've had this bottle for a while, but you want to clean the surface from dirt, oil, and dust. All I did on this was just quickly wipe it down with some waterless wash. I'm going to pour on an applicator or orbital polisher, polish well the glass. That's a weird way to say that, okay? And then rinse with water. So we'll just wipe this quickly down with some glass cleaner afterwards. Let me grab a fresh towel over here. Now this will definitely be more aggressive than our polish and compound. I've actually, the way you can really tell how aggressive stuff is you can kind of take it, dab it right here, and rub it in between your fingers. It really feels like sand, in all honesty, in between there. And you can see it's a lot grittier. Let's try and hammer that. Wow, those actually come right off, it looks like. Again, I think this test is cool because there are certain products you can use that are not like, hey, this is absolutely dedicated for glass. I want to try and get this edge down here. Maybe I'll do half of it because it's pretty aggressive down here so you guys can see the cleaning capabilities of it. But I just think it's really nice to be able to come in here and really test these back to back. Now I probably would add a little bit more on here if I were, polishing this glass. Again, this is one of those you can absolutely do on a polisher. I've used this stuff before, obviously, and what I'll tell you is it's so thin, it slings everywhere, and honestly kind of creates a mess because it just flies off your pad, goes absolutely everywhere. So I think that's probably pretty good. I'm gonna flip this towel over here. I'm gonna hit this with my little bit of glass cleaner. So what I want you to notice is what's happening here, like this edge. Watch when I wipe this, how different the glass looks. You can see it's nice and flat, but up in these edges, see how it's kind of leaving stuff behind? That's how you tell when glass is perfectly polished nice. So I want to do that up here just for a quick little demonstration. It's a little bit harder to see. Yeah, actually got quite a bit of that residue off. Can still see it coming in there. This looks absolutely perfect. Looks nice and clean. Wow. Absolutely looks awesome. This edge down here, I'll definitely bring you guys in a little bit closer and show you that, but let's keep moving on. Next on the list here is Gyeon Water Spot. Now this is going to be more of a simple product to use, I would say. Definitely less elbow grease than stuff over here. I'm curious to see how it actually works. Now for directions, you want to wash and dry the car with pH neutral shampoo. You want to spray this onto the panel, wait only a few moments, wipe off carefully with soft microfiber. So you can actually use this, of course, on paint, on things like that, on trim. And then afterwards, it wants you to fully wash the car. So it wants you to neutralize this. Now I'm assuming this is either acidic or basic. That's the whole reason for that. Tell you what, sprayers are my nemesis here. So I'm gonna spray a little into my towel there. I'm also gonna spray this on. I'm gonna kind of work this in just to kind of spread it out a little bit. It's really interesting with gloves on. You can absolutely feel the water spots in here. Like I can feel it kind of grab it in this particular area. I don't know, what does a few moments to you guys mean? I really wish companies would be more direct with stuff like this. Like it's a little frustrating. So I'm gonna wipe one of these sides and just see what it does here. Wow, holy smokes. That actually took that off quite a bit. And I've tried these products before and on very heavy stuff, so maybe this isn't the most aggressive water spots I've actually seen. I mean, but they're quite bad, especially when you look at them in the light. But man, that took that almost right off here. So I'm gonna grab just off to the camera here. I'm gonna grab my glass cleaner, spray this. We're just gonna neutralize this. So when I wipe this, notice how you can see that residue there. Whereas over here on this glass polish, see how much smoother it looks in there? So I can definitely tell you there's a difference in the amount of cleaning this is doing because we're obviously polishing this over this. But man, that actually came out surprisingly quick. So I'm gonna set this down over here. Off camera, I am grabbing CarPro Spotless now. And let's see if this is on. So CarPro Spotless, this is a product I've used before. Both this and Gyeon water spot remover are ceramic coating safe, where, you know, compounding, polishing, and your glass polish here is gonna remove a ceramic coating. This is meant to work with it, so that's quite cool. Directions here, shake well, spray over the surface, work in with a sponge or microfiber, wipe off with a microfiber, rinse with water, repeat steps 1, 2, 3 if necessary. So I'm gonna spray a little on here. I'm also gonna do this. I'm gonna kind of work this in that same way here. So it doesn't say to let it sit on here. It does say do not let it sit for more than 1 minute on glass. One thing I absolutely should have said before you guys do any of this, make sure you're working on cool glass. Do not do this on something that is sitting outside in the sun. Your glass is 150 degrees, not a great idea there. So I'm gonna wipe this side just to see how it did. Dang, honestly, impressive. Maybe I gotta give these two a bit more of a play because I always kind of jump to either quickly polish it, glass polish, brilliant glaze. Now if I need to kind of bring in the hammer, I'm gonna use something like Chemical Guy's water spot remover or even steel wool in this situation. So let me just wipe this off here. So I'll be curious to see between the glass cleaner if I can see a difference between the two of those. So I'm gonna grab my glass cleaner one more time. We're gonna quickly wipe these. So noticing how that's kind of sheeting off of there, I definitely feel like CarPro Spotless did a better job. I hope I can show you that on camera. It's definitely a little bit tricky for you guys to see. See the difference there, how streaky this is and perfect, and then you can kind of still see the water spots over here on Gyeon water remover. Yeah, so I would kind of give this one actually to CarPro between the two of these. So very impressive results here on the Spotless. Let me get reset here. Let's work with the Chemical Guys, Brilliant Glaze, and then Steel Wool. So this for a long time has really been my nuclear bomb for water spots, other than grabbing like a glass polish over here and really polishing out the glass. This stuff is pretty interesting. So this is made by Chemical Guys. This is heavy duty water spot remover. It's a mineral neutralizer. Now on the back here, it says, of course, clean surface before, shake product well, and then we're going to apply a small amount of gel. That's the interesting thing with this over like Gyeon and CarPro Spotless. These are a spray version, but this is a gel, so it really sits there and kind of eats the water spots away. Now I'll tell you, this stuff absolutely stinks. It really smells like you ate a bunch of eggs and have been passing gas all day. Really not a pleasant smell in this. What I think I want to do is do half of this so you can kind of see before and after on this, and then we'll continue over here. This stuff is also, will eat through like gloves like this. It'll turn them bright green. It'll also eat through applicators. So this is some pretty serious stuff here, guys. So all I'm gonna do, dabbed a little onto here, and I'm gonna start working this stuff in. So I'm just gonna split this 50-50, and I can already immediately tell it's starting to work just as I'm wiping this off. It's a little hard to describe what I'm seeing in there, but like on this edge, see how you can kind of see the water spots, and then it's more smooth on this area. Now this is perfectly fine to be used on painted surfaces, on whatever it may be. Now this is a product you kind of want to work in, and then you just kind of leave it alone. You don't want to let it sit there forever. I'm going to grab a little bit more off camera here. and just kind of work this in. You'll see it's kind of drying up already. I kind of want it to stay a little bit wet, if you will, here. Now, you're not really trying to buff this product in, just trying to get a good amount of it on there. So I'm gonna let that sit, and while we're doing that, we're gonna grab one of my favorite products ever for glass. Now, this is not necessarily designed for glass. There's a lot of solvents in here. It also has a little bit of abrasives as well. Fantastic product. I absolutely love Brilliant Glaze. This, if you guys didn't know or haven't seen it, is how I remove off-gassing from the inside of your windows when they get a lot of that grease on there. This stuff you absolutely need to shake up like crazy because it separates substantially. So I'm gonna pour a little on here. You can see it's very liquid. This stuff is also really cool for removing coating high spots as well. So I'm gonna work this in over here. The thing I love about this product, it's great on tiny water spots. I'll be curious to see how it actually does here. Definitely wanna kind of hammer this edge on this end, but it kind of polishes at the same time as it makes it extremely slick. So I'll be curious to see how this one works out here compared to the others. Just gonna kind of work this in until I can see it's doing a little bit of something. I can tell this edge down here, some of those really heavy spots that have been sitting, not the greatest on it. Let me apply a little bit more here to my applicator. This is also a product you can use on paint. This is like a really deep clean for things. It's awesome. Some of those solvents in there really get in there and kind of destroy dirt. It's also great on water spots, but I don't know if this aggressive of a water spot, it's great. Not exactly sure. We'll definitely check that out. Now, next, moving on to the last one we have here. This is steel wool. I picked this up at Walmart earlier. Again, quadruple zero. You want to make sure here that you are not doing anything less than this. So I'm just gonna literally open this pack off camera here and grab my steel wool. Now, steel wool, yes, it does sound scary, and yeah, it probably is. So I'm just going to kind of work it in here lightly and see how it does. Now, you don't use this with any lubricants or anything. You just kind of go after it. Now, one thing you're going to notice, look at all the steel wool here. That's going to destroy paint if you wipe that off later. So you're just going to want to work in kind of straightforward motions here. Nothing too aggressive, but I can kind of see these water spots. The nice thing with this is you're working dry. Curious to see, yeah, it's definitely removing them. It's just kind of polishing it out pretty nice. Now, the big question is, did that scratch it? Let me go grab my light and see what it did. So just grabbed my Scan Grip light here, and as you can see, okay, we didn't scratch it, but we also didn't remove the water spots nearly as well as we even did over here. So I'm not really sure why folks are so into the steel wool. It also creates a mess. It's definitely scary around plastic areas like this and painted surfaces. You don't want to be just hammering this stuff all over those areas. So let me just come in here a little bit more now that we know we're not scratching it. I'm going to put a little bit more pressure down. The interesting thing here, I can definitely feel it's smooth, but it's not like, oh wow, that's like super changing it. Yeah, it didn't really remove any water spots there. So very unimpressed with that. Now, down here, I want to wipe off this Brilliant Glaze quickly. See what this did. Actually, dang, looking pretty decent. Now I'm just going to wipe this off up here. So again, we're doing 50-50 on these two. So they were a little bit bigger sections. Just wanted to show you side by side how they look. And lastly, we have our Chemical Guys water spot remover. This is where you're going to see a big difference side to side on what it looks like when you actually wipe it down. So I'm going to spray this with glass cleaner. Notice that difference there, guys? See how I'm literally wiping this the same as over here? That to me is a good indication that we've actually removed quite a bit of stuff. Now, how has it done for water spots is the question. Wow, big difference there. I want to do the same to the Brilliant Glaze. See the Brilliant Glaze, when I wipe it, boom, you can still see those water spots. So I think this is really meant for kind of light water spotting on here. But yeah, it removed them, but see how it still remains when you wipe it, whereas over here, completely gone. That's what I'm looking for in a good water spot remover. Now let's do the same up here with the steel wool. So in spots, but again, I can still see just water spots kind of everywhere, in all honesty. I'm actually really not impressed with that. I expected this to just be the easiest way to do it. So what I'm gonna do now, I'm gonna walk you guys through here and show you exactly what they look like up close with the light, and then we can come up with a conclusion, what's the best for this particular use case. So we are done with our little scientific test here. Now I've got my scan grip light. Let's start on the left, come to the right, and see how these did. Now we want to look again here for water spots. And I do apologize, it does have a little bit of a hard time focusing in this, but you can absolutely still see water spots absolutely everywhere on this. Do apologize, a little bit of glass cleaning residue on here. But this is with the clay bar. It definitely did a little compared to up here, as you can see, but it's definitely nowhere near perfect. As you can see, quite a few big water spots there. Now this was our traditional paint polish in here, and honestly, looks pretty freaking fantastic. Really decent cleanup there with minimal effort. Moving over here to Compoud, that worked as well. Moving down here, this is our glass polish. It's really interesting. I hope you're seeing all the little dots around there. Not exactly sure what that is. I've cleaned this off a few times. That's a little interesting. So what I'd probably recommend you do anytime you're doing a glass water spot removal on here, just clay the whole thing first, make sure it's absolutely clean. I did not do that before. This is the only section that got clayed. Now after this, what I'll do when I'm actually going to remove the water spots and decide which one's best for my case here is I'll clay it first, then do it. But I gotta say, all three of these, no complaints there. Gyeon water spot up here looks fantastic. Again, you can still see some of those dots where, yeah, you still can here in the Compoud and the polish. So probably just a little bit of, tree sap or environmental fallout, whatever it may be. This is CarPro Spotless over here. Again, looks phenomenal. Now down here, huge difference with the chemical, guys. So look at this bottom edge. That's a big difference, folks. Big, big difference. So this section, again, we just did on the right side with a Chemical Guys water spot remover. Looks fantastic. Now the interesting thing over here, the Brilliant Glaze actually looks decent. It didn't get everything out, as you can kind of still see a few water spots in there. So I would say if it's a little bit lighter on the water spot, quickly hit it with Brilliant Glaze and it's going to be awesome. But this was, again, before and after. So a big difference there, but definitely not as good as basically everything here in the middle. Next, moving up here to the steel wool. Again, no scratches on here, but really didn't do much. I am not impressed with this at all. Not really sure where you guys are saying steel wool is the way to go, because you can quickly wipe these off and they're totally fine. Now, another little test I just want to show you. I want to spray this on here and show you the difference. So see how it kind of beads up? Look how it beads up, or it doesn't bead up in one area. You can see exactly where I polish this. Same with the Compoud, exactly. You can see I missed down here. So that's what these cleaners are really getting in and actually cleaning the glass. Look at this difference here. Big, big difference. Same with the water spot removers up here. You can see I actually got down in the edges quite a bit better. Let's see how the steel wool does. Yeah, steel wool really didn't clean it as well. And the Brilliant Glaze, not much of a difference either. So I would tell you, it really depends here, folks. I mean, I wouldn't say there is an absolutely clear winner. I think if you have some polish or Compoud on hand and your water spots are very similar to this, man, polish is the way to go. Took just a few seconds. You could even make it a lot quicker by just throwing it on a yellow Rupes pad, quickly polishing all your windows, boom, good to go. Save yourself some elbow grease. Compoud worked fine as well. The glass polish is going to be one if you have insanely heavy water spots. I mean, genuinely, I've played around with all of these before. If these don't touch it at all, you're going to want to go for the glass polish or even something like the Chemical Guys water spot remover. I mean, this makes a huge, huge difference. I mean, it's so clear where you exactly touch these sections, especially over here with this stuff. So I'm actually reasonably impressed with these two. These water spots, in my impression, were reasonably bad before I looked at them. But honestly, I'm impressed with how those did. So if they're not super bad, you can definitely grab either one of these, but purchasing another product that's a little bit more expensive. So in my personal opinion, if you're going to use something for glass cleaner, anything in this section, just depending on your severity. CarPro Seri Glass over here, a normal car polish, a Compoud, Gyeon water spot, CarPro Spotless, or Chemical Guys water spot remover. So I hope this gave you guys some insight. I thought this was a fun little test and definitely was most shocked by this. I genuinely expected this to do the best. It was going to be very quick, not make a mess. It was going to be absolutely perfect glass. And I got to say, honestly, for the amount of work, I think, you know, Brilliant Glaze actually did better than the steel wool. And yeah, really surprised with this. So hope you guys enjoyed this shorter little video and this quick little test here. Make sure your windows are completely water spot free. I'll leave all of these products in the link in the description below if you'd like to pick them up, so it's nice and easy for you. You don't have to go searching. But thanks so much for watching another out of spec detailing video. We'll see you in the next one soon. Bye-bye.